알았어. 다 계산하죠. 들으셔. 다 돌드나 셔봐. 매나. 아니 셔발라 템베 소놈도 연구 말이지. 셔발라 템베 소놈당 셔바니디 매는 민중기 저와 니에버스. 디인도 다 두스 공부하시나 야고 이들이. 빼나 말한도 상월로 상기긴 쓰고요. 심진기 된지긴 쓰고요. 근데 다 kelema 보다 주 여드니 미 지라 아니 지금 진보당기 주름송기 아니 셴 퍼센트 두나는 아 지기 아니 다 지금 숨바 서버데 데스 하고 요자 아니 지금은 라베나 아니 너희가 상지 좀 된디기 진소 퍼센트 그냥는데 백한지로 좀 된디기 샤요를 슈비나 아니 단다 좀 된디기 아니 베나 지기 랑부치기 르무지 지구구요나스 카시 고트치바 카시 락바 트치바 카시 슈구트치바 알라 소베 아니 소소소기 다 빠르르르르 아니 티알라 스페셜리티 여드니 지 아니 미투게 당브레스 제부지 아니 디나로네 미투 나로네 밍아마도 마좀 바인자 한 고디 티마톤을 하버스 제장가 디나신 진수 퍼진 두고 냠네 아니 차상 창 마찬나 아니 산디죠 고관 두고 말을 샘진게 되는 제도 말을 아니 아주 벌써 그래 진보 용수 수림 용수 쇠바 용수 적세야 돼 적세요 말에 있지 좀 되는데 이렇게 가는 거야 세상에 계산하죠 verse number stanza number 자도 시디 어떤 된다 도도로 드리도 와
So in relation to so going back to last time where we left off the text at verse 104, and if I give you a sort of a brief sort of summary about that verse, then what we talked about was how if we have no practice of patience, then there can be no accumulation of merit, which is kind of based out of or reliant upon that practice of patience. And that is because they have a relationship, the relationship between the patience and the merit that is accumulated from that is a kind of one of a, that if one doesn't precede it and goes prior before it, then there's no possibility for the other one to arise. So I think the best way to think about this is in terms of, we've committed ourselves to many things. We've made many commitments, such as the wish to work for the welfare of all, to attain the completely enlightened state, to work as effectively as possible for all sentient beings, and and so. If we say that we're out of the 6 perfections, we're okay practicing generosity, ethical discipline, maybe sort of enthusiastic effort or perseverance, but actually the practice of patience is very difficult, and therefore I'm not going to I find it difficult, and therefore I'm going to kind of skip it or avoid it. Then this confronts us with the question of asking why the Buddha sort of spoke about, sort of introduced the 6 perfections Why is it this way? And why did he put it this way in terms of the practice of the Mahayana path and the 6 perfections, and thinking about the completeness of them. I can give you a very simple example. If we wish to consider to draw the figure of a complete figure of an elephant, but let's say that only certain people were skilled in drawing, that people were only skilled in drawing certain parts of it. So people would be skilled in drawing the head, people in the legs, the tail, and the various other parts. Let's say there were 6 different parts of which they had to be complete, and which people were specialized in each one, but not in the others. Then we would need to invite 6 people in order to complete this work. But if you were not able to, or didn't invite someone who was the artisan who was skilled in drawing the head, then your work cannot be complete. And so if we don't practice completely this set of the 6 perfections, then we can't attain. We will not be able to attain the completely enlightened state and work to our full capacity for the welfare of sentient beings, and within themselves, the practices of generosity, ethical discipline, enthusiastic effort, or the other, whether it's wisdom, concentration, whatever the others, will also not. We will not be able to fully complete the other perfections either. So this is a sort of summarized version of what was said in verse 104.
Okay. 다 다디 계산한디 된다디 다 big the example the stanza the verse number 105 tuzu chimbe longbe jimbe geche yomayi rabdu jimbur chejurba rabchung geche charmirunsa 105 please.
A beggar is not an obstacle to generosity. When I am giving something away, and I cannot say that those who give ordination are an obstacle to becoming ordained.
So do you believe that beggar is not an obstacle to the generosity? So in the English, it sounds like all the beggars are welcome to take the whatever they need. But it's not true. So in a Tibetan here, tuzu chimbe. So it's a very strong meaning there. So tuzu chimbe is the person who is ready to give generosity. Then all the beggars whom he is ready, then if the beggar comes, he will be very, very happy to give the generosity to others. So
it's not conveyed clearly in the translation. It says when I am giving something away. So it actually says when I'm giving something away. So they translated it when I'm giving something away, but it doesn't mean when I'm ready to give. It doesn't have that meaning in the English. Yeah.
Study in the commentary itself, it's very clear. Otherwise, even I'm not ready, then people ask for donation, then I feel annoyed. But then I'm feeling like today I'm ready to give something, and today is a Sagadava, the full moon, and then it multiply so many positive karmas. Then I give 1 rupee, then it will multiply billion.
10 million, I think it was.
You are a businessman. So in in the commentary itself, it says the right time, which means when I am ready, when the person who is ready to give generosity, then if the beggar comes, then it is not an obstacle.
It says so the line that Rinpoche read is, it says when you have the kind of, something substantial there to give, and when you have turba, like a delight or sort of, this kind of readiness or delight or joy to give at that time. That's what it says in Gyaltsab's commentary.
And then also one example is showing for the monks. Tawa Chendu Yuni Jila, Kembo the Lama Danjik Duzuda, and a Tavina, any the Tumbi Genva, Digi Lama the Gigin to Mevina, Lama the Gigin to Wadi, never chat person, Lama the Gigin to Mevina, and Tawa Chetu Maris. Tawa Chavala, ever to Kembo the Lama to Kubi or was. Chezanga good men and Mijunga Javati. 당보디 아니 지금 좀 왔으네. semlo toy give to che. Anybody many 민중 저 휴치할 정도와 배 니도와.
Yeah, sure. So in this 105th verse, Rinpoche said this just before, that above we sort of have the general explanation, and then below it is the examples to sort of clarify that. And so in the first bit is sort of talking about how when the time is kind of ripe for us, when we're sort of pleased or delighted and ready, and we have things to give and ready to give. So there's that one, there's that example. And then also there are really two examples there. And the second one is more in relation to, let's say, somebody who wishes to become ordained. In order to do that, you need an abbot or a lama, a guru, an abbot, a preceptor, and those people in the process of becoming ordained are, conducive conditions. Not only are they conducive conditions, they're actually, you cannot become ordained without them. So again, this sort of relates back to the kind of relationship of where if the preceding cause doesn't exist, then the preceding sort of situation doesn't come into existence, then the other subsequent situation can't arise. So there's this relationship called Mena Machungwi Droba. So it's kind of identifies it through two examples, one through this relationship, and the other through the kind of delight and readiness to give.
Gather to the 106. Jigen and long ame never chever company, tether partner machina, Gayan never michetos 106.
There are indeed many beggars in this world, but scarce are those who inflict harm. For if I have not injured others, few beings will cause me harm.
The Pejanaruneta Namju those Tonkawa of Jire, Benang around to Shin Chavarjens, around to that Benang so Shin son of Jina, and the Shin Chavarjen. Sanjay is down, Chanju Samba to Shin Chavarjen, Manju Namju was in Chigare. And Simjan Dia mixing Shin Chavarjen Seata. And Howard Dalla Shin Chavarjen, Tanya did a Junjun Naroni. That the Sanjay around Shin Chavarjen said, you and you gonna die. And cutting you gonna die Chigore. Chesanga Lamalaya, and cutting you down, you and you got out of your that Simjan so cutting some tampina. Pena Lama di Mebina. Ani near Sanji Temba than Jetu Mason. Some Sanji Temba this one of Jimena. 아니 상계 손으로 좀 해배나 상계 때문에 단지에 고감에 상계 그런 친구를 샤세요. 다원은 상계 뒤 아니 지금 신개발진 차단 가르를 샤스라는 아니 짐바 파르도 짐바 서바 파르도 짐바 수준 파르도 짐바 셔럽 파르도 짐바 파르도 짐바 인자 아니 신개발진 차도스 다들 진소 파르는 두고 냠nen도 망치야 돼 셈쟁이 되네 정말 안에 하고바로 도야 아니 서바디 딱 아주만 손에 깔래 가셔도부터 서바지고 봐 다단다딘 나로니 신개발진 아니 디지털 갈수 그래 수수 다디 떡요래 다디 신개발진 좀 젠텔이야 그냥 알아주 짐바도 부지를 차샤비나 아니 알아주를 답변나 도스탄이 지도 짐바당석이 신망 부지라고 그랬어 봐 아니 아니 추림 송야디 소소유기 캡상을 된 송야래 딱 서버 공부디 아니 저기 고급도스 공부를 지랬어 딱 공부 이미 좀 전에 롱랑년 용용여배 깨지면서 봐 어디 공부 이미 좀 전에 가르쳐서나 말한저 짐바 땅올라 때네 캡상만 보지 통해요 봐 체다 푸니가로 상당 푸니 주요 아니 추림 송바데 소소기 캡상이 뭐 통해요 이내 서버 검내 캡상을 그래서 삼로 코르데 가고 싶지요 다디 리베 페이지 두고 말을 소소 냠용 존자나 하고 봐 서버 메창으로 남상 짐바 땅에라 가보여야 되니 추림 송에라 가보여야 되니 서버 검야라 가고 싶어야 되니 뒤떠서 공부해야 돼 밀게제 티가 조금만 소소가도 대지게 남상 하고 년라 지어래 제장가 딘득이 신 개발진디기 개발진이 뭐 셰버디 셰셔도 콜라 신 개발진 제제대 대 전도도가 제장가 네버 제버 컴바데스 네버 제버 컴바데 딱 바로 네버 제버 지단에 네버 제버 컴바게 제스면 뭐지 아란도 파 네버 제버 인자 수 네버 용요
녀만남서 파 네버 제스
수 네버 제도 좀 되는데 팔 네버 제버선 되게 두고 그랬어 디삼모 걸 가고도 와 가고 연하면은 미직 네버 제원도 잡으러 와 배나 수 네버 제니 콘도 두고다 람사 셈나로리아 카메 그 네버 제디 네 콜레 말 네버 제버 인자 되게 그 네버 제기 요새 삼모 걸 가고 싶지 람상코 네버 제디 콜로야 아니 당화제디 콩을 네버 제버 베레세 삼로레 좀도 응아르기 파네바 집이 두고더라 안년엔 주고 요거데 쉬지 가고요 다디 가르치는서나 레준디 이게 제대로와 대장가 디기 대자라 판에 맞체나 가양네와 미치도 오세데 디기 삼로디 코리아데 가고 여자 아니 디기 신개발진 차단돼 지단이 신개발진 유효시 디나르스기 다나데
yeah so moving on to, as we move on to verse 106 and there's a sort of topic which is mentioned in the text which is about being a particularly special field of merit, and in relation to this, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are considered a special field of merit. And sentient beings are also included in that, and also the enemy. Now, from in relation to the Buddhas, then this is I'm sorry, the gurus as well. Sorry, the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, sentient beings, the guru, our gurus, and also the enemy. So in terms of the Buddha, then we think of them as being a special field of merit in relation to their qualities. And the guru, we think of them as being a special field of merit in relation to their qualities, but also a sense of gratitude, a sort of direct sense of gratitude towards them. You know, without having the gurus, then we would have no exposure to the Dharma, and also if there were no Buddha, we have a gratitude to the Buddha also, because in the sense that if there were no Buddha, then there would be no Dharma teachings for us to encounter. We think about, in terms of the Buddha and its qualities, we think about them in terms of how they have gone beyond, literally gone to the other shore in terms of practicing the 6 perfections and completing those 6 perfections and going to the other shore in relation to those. But all of those, all of those qualities that the Buddha has practiced the 6 perfections and you know, completed them. Most of those perfections that the Buddha has done in order to reach those qualities also have been accumulated on the basis of sentient beings, and within that, really what's considered, you know, we can see is most difficult to practice is the practice of the perfection of patience. And so in relation to things like, so for instance, in relation to things like generosity, there are many fields of generosity, and in terms of ethical discipline, we can see. So in terms of the perfections, and in terms of us practicing the perfections, it's easy for us to see. It's very easy to see the advantages. One of the reasons why the practice of patience is much more complicated, is much more difficult to engage with, is because we can see the advantages, both the long and the short term, of practicing, say, generosity. There's a kind of feel-good factor about it, and we also see that it's quite easy for us to see the advantages in practicing ethical discipline and so the others. But in terms of the practice of patience, it's much harder to see where the advantages lie from the practice of patience, and we can see this from our own experience. Now, when we talk about the and it's said that the sort of available field, the available sort of you know, focus point of practice of the kasede rimshidi kale supatube kase shi sembe kase siktis tempetes kale supatube shinkeberten se digi gomborea diro shinkeberten zupiki shinkeberten digi gombore se diro
shinkeberten chetanga 심진을 shinkeberten se de
어디
거진 이거네.
Yeah, right.
아마 당 상제도들 연대당 거진 3초를 조 연대인 3부터네 봐. 다른다 심진을 조 아니 그 소남기 신소에 조디 아니 거진 3부터네 하고 삼바야래도 안 하와도 단다 달라야 신개발진 세고야디 그 가서고래 그 소남 사세기 신된 개발진지 미차네 이래도 봐.
Yeah. So yes. So and these are in terms of the fields of us being able to generate merit, right? So the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and the gurus are mainly considered because both through gratitude and also but through their qualities. But the sentient beings are sort of really mainly in the sense of our gratitude towards them, and then within that the enemy and the practice of patience being the hardest. And it's said that there's sort of not less opportunities, there's less it's a less less easily encountered experience of being able to take the enemy as the special field of merit And this is not because there's not enough people out there who, let's say, try our patience, or who irritate us, or inflame us to try our patience. It's not because of that. The reason is that, as I said, there's a feel-good factor about the other perfections, but the practice of, first of all, the practice of patience, really, nobody really is not really desperately wanting to do it. And we need to, and so it's given the name, it's also given the name as a special field for the accumulation of merit, in order to help us to identify it as that, and also to remind us. And it's much more complicated, when, in the terms of practicing patience in relation to someone who is harming us, it's also very, it's a much more difficult opportunity to, let's say, to take, because who really thinks that when somebody, in the moment when somebody causes us harm, that we really accept that actually the reason that they are harming me now is because I have, in the past, in the distant past, or I have caused harm to them, and they are essentially just returning that harm. So it's very difficult for us in the immediate moment. Our temptation, or our kind of immediate response, is to sort of kind of point the finger at them, to blame them, and to sort of to sort of put everything on them as though it has nothing to do with us. But it's not us. We never think, oh, actually this harm is a harm which I previously caused to them, being returned to me. Now, of course, this explanation is based in an understanding of the karmic law of cause and effect. And so what it says in the last, so this is sort of encapsulated in the last two verses, the last two lines of verse 106, where it says, "For if I had not injured others, few beings will cause me harm." So this is sort of taking on board the explanation of karmic cause and effect, and encouraging us to see why the cause of the harm, and then also explaining why the enemy is indeed a special field of merit.
아니 공부임비 된적이 아주 진발례장 아니 서바데 공부임비 김전데 다 전주 선바절 산에게 전주 선바지 차위나 아니 그뒤에네 그런 dom심 지기 파종을이야 콘로 모두 있잖냐 탑시 제대로 여be 인자 아니 파시라 콘로 모두 베나 주 콘로 중에 시라 연구 말아
예. 맞아.
그봐
예.
아니 이 동네 말을 전에 아니 콘로 동네 충분히는 서버 고미야 고급 시부지랑甚至다디 가와 쇼충부지 기억이었다. 다디 아주 야즈래는 마도 디 카고르 봐. 당아줄 단다 강다르장 서버 공백가베야 아니 신개발진 딘지 통 투비아디 가르도스나 람산 딘지 니주 중바당 저기 콘도 람산 지금 까다 두고 말때 이네 삼로 야고 지땅베이나 대다 규미 끼면 때는 많이 봐 규제망부지 초벌 때는 중샤베 인자 아니 코지고 있는데 말은 아양한테 나는 냠도 요래야 삼로 들려나 신이 다디 고급디 상부시우지 통사를 봐 다디 어디들지르샤.
So there's also another explanation that we could also, there's also given for the reason why this sort of opportunity for practicing, practicing the perfection of patience is much more, it's rarer than, say, the other perfections such as generosity. And if, for instance, if you take it in terms of someone is taking the bodhisattva vows and trying to become a bodhisattva, then of course contained within those very vows is a tremendous encouragement to not get angry. And so not to deal with our anger and to reduce it. And so actually, as you become a practitioner who reduces more and more their anger, then us getting less angry with others means it's much more likely that others won't get so angry with us. And so there's a real there's a kind of great reduction of the kind of interaction of anger. And so when an opportunity comes, when to one of this kind of bodhisattva way of thinking, when an opportunity, a real opportunity of a real enemy and sort of real harm, and the opportunity for the practice of patience comes, there's this tremendous delight and happiness. Now, of course, this is a very sort of a practice at a kind of high level, but we can also, if we can think about if we can think about the enemy as being a special field of merit, then, and also thinking about how the situation arises out of a whole array of causes and conditions. And if we also are able to accept in some way that I have some part in all of this process, I'm not totally innocent here, that there's then okay, that's not actually it's not going to completely cause the cessation of our anger, but it will go a long way to helping us to practice patience and reduce our anger in the situation.
대외 내와 마주베 침도 때는 중앙들 전주 주베 조규르베 다기 달라 가버 찬스 107 please.
Therefore, just like treasure appearing in my house, without any effort on my part to obtain it, I should be happy to have enemies, for they assist me in my conduct of awakening.
다디 내가 전부래도 도스리자 오기 전주주에 조주에 다기 달라 가버차 세디 불자지 가르치는 달라 가버치긴스나 그 전주 전부 때려치기도 없어 딱 디고도와 아니
youngest songs con
전주주에 조주를 베서 last two lines 오케이 전주주에 조주에 다기 달라 가버차 세디게 네 달라 가르치는 거기 있잖아 말로 누구든 그 요즘 그 수치라고 이나야 말이야 내가 제가 될 때니 전주 전부 그 때리기도 없어지 디도와 좀 진짜 어디 추심도 와 딘데지 용배나 아니 대외 예외 모두베스 다 될 깔레 맞잡이 치지 깔레 큐니 야 먹어 베토네 아니 미지기 추 맞아 맞소네 지게 랍지 자갈래 무슨 거지 전주 정부 제가 용구 무슨 거지 늘 줄리기 어디 배나 지게 가서 그래 딱 삼로데 당나 되거라 진보 추름 서버 좀 도시 퍼진 두유도 준비 퍼진 두디도 심전레레레 가지고 수 제 손남제에게 고갑이었어. 제가 다디기 다 아주 서벌 때문에 손남디 제가 용인디 호랑랑 차디요 그랬어. 제가 한조 넘쳐 준도 삼로 코르마투야다 디 카르레스나 딜레테니 다텔레테니 서버 공주라 서버 공부를 때는 딘데 손남 사주라 손남 사바 텔레테니 아니 산지 요코반 두비아 디기 커넥션들 야고지 통구 매바다 커넥션들 예지 슈칭 보지 많이 해 인상 아니 남산 다통도 순환제야 아니 서버 공부를 또 매바 디기 냠바리샤스 딘데지 멤버체 커넥션들 삼로다다 코르투니지나 아니 깔리 큐니 마제베지 아니 수수기 갈사 단단 아야 데서디 워들이야 아니 깔리 큐니 잡먹어 세 아니 세기 때려 첨부지 버려요이나 아베 깔리 자모토니 밀리니 차차로 어디 잡아 매직이 삼로 땅고 그래서 따디 네바르도 따디 칙디야 셔바 고메라 쪼아페야 셔도 디칙지 자다 듄디 아주 마소네 쉬지 칸이마 곰지 땅지 머니 된된지 된토에네 벤서와
So this verse 107 is really sort of highlighting a really important point, and actually we should even almost take this verse almost like a sort of almost like a mantra for ourselves to repeat continually and to sort of remind ourselves of its message. So in the last two lines of 107, verse 107, it says, "I should be happy to have enemies, for they assist me in my conduct of awakening." And so they are someone that is almost like this sense of how I'm on my way to enlightenment kind of thing, or enlightenment is on its way for me. In the great, the sort of the because of the great in the practice of the conduct which leads to great enlightenment. So there's almost this sense of delight or happiness in it. And so in terms of so this advice sort of comes in the form of in terms of the the generosity, ethical discipline. The six perfections are mostly, again, performed in relation to our merit is accumulated in relation to sentient beings who give us the opportunity for practicing each of the different perfections is practiced in relation to all of the sentient beings, and they're giving us an opportunity for this practice. So in terms of the practice of patience, we need a person who gives us the opportunity to practice patience, and that person who gives us the opportunity to practice patience is the enemy. And what we don't understand, and where we haven't made the connection, and therefore why we don't have a sense of delight, an immediate delight in engaging in places of practice of patience in relation to our enemies, and why we instead respond with fear, and there's no delight at all, and it's a kind of trepidation, a fear in relation to them, is that we don't understand that on the basis of them, and on the basis of them, we're able to practice patience. In the basis of that practice of patience brings us merit. And on the basis of that merit, it brings us, as this verse is indicating, it brings us, it's a practice of conduct leading to the fully awakened state. But where we're going wrong is we don't properly understand that relationship or connection between all of those, and instead respond with fear. And if we did really understand that connection properly between the practice of patience, the merit from that, and then the ability to attain the enlightened state, fully enlightened state, then we would engage with with ease, with no difficulty, with joy, and with no difficulty at all. And therefore, in the first two lines of 107, it talks about, it gives the example, and as an example of that sort of complete ease, complete kind of spontaneous ease, it gives an example. It says where it reads, therefore, just like treasure appearing in my house without any effort on my part to obtain it. So if we found under our house, suddenly we discovered a great treasure of gold, and then immediately, with no effort, we would become, immediately like a millionaire without any effort at all. And so this verse, as it say, we should almost take it like a mantra to repeat to ourselves again and again, which helps to increase our delight in the practice of patience.
sowe sambe gawar chawo shidu jambe adi nyamlen di karil pingire slawe na andu chanju gu sem kiwe gi dunde menga dungi nalo ne ani tin sowa seti tin kate tin soye gi sambo di sul ligre slamna ranju ni dula ligre hamala ligre gikene ligre ina yan dala zawani ligmar tin sowa di tin gora tin mare 다 늦어지지 tembe이나 아니 달라 tin보다 tin 좋아서 리그레 딜레베이나 땅 아란주 나로네 딱 똑같이 카슈디 가르르스나 이용기 참바들 이동의 참바
so
아 이용기 참바디기 녀렌 도보도마 손에 아마 딱다데 tin 상보디 고그와 tin 상보들레 소나 디슈리 이용 참바들 봐 어디 인도점베 디 양권행과 참부치르샤
and so in the actual verse, the verse itself, Shantideva's verse in 107, it's not very clear, but what it's a point that's not clear in the root verse. But in Gyaltsab Je's commentary, it talks about the delight of contemplating how our wish to repay the kindness, or our gratitude and wish to repay the kindness of the enemy, and for us it's and so this connects with the 7-point cause and effect instruction on developing the awakening mind, and we in terms of in terms of the third cause of understanding the kindness and then wishing to repay the kindness, it's easy for us when in relation to our parents, our close relatives, our teachers, these kind of in relation to these kind of people, it's very easy for us, but there's no sense of even really feeling the sense of gratitude towards an enemy, and so it's really the hardest. It's really, let alone the sense that then we have to repay that gratitude or kindness in relation to an enemy, and so the hardest I think the hardest of the 7-point cause and effect instruction is actually the one to see the fourth state, the fourth step, the love which sees all beings as kind of attractive, or then that I think is the most difficult one, and without the previous steps of the understanding, understanding beings to be our mothers, and understanding the kindness and the gratitude we have to them and wishing to repay it, then it will not be possible for the later stage of the love to all beings, which sees them as kind of really attractive and delightful.
Please.
Because I am able to practice patience with them, they are worthy of being given the very first fruits of my patience, for in this way they are the cause of it.
Now this is if you take out with him, if we say, and because I'm able to practice patience from him, he is worthy of being given, and so on. It goes very smooth. But here it says with him. This is such a importance here. That means you have to put him above, not to say someone helped me to gain my practice on patience. It's like from him I got the patience. This giving this kind of recognition towards your enemy. that is a very hard thing to do. And we can definitely say I have given, because I have given so much generosity towards that, so on, I get so much merit. But difficulty is, without this being, I cannot get merit and become a Buddha. That difficult to come in your hand or in the mind. And then also for the third one, which is the patience, it's really hard to say this practice, that me having this kind of shield and having not getting much stronger to help sentient beings, even somebody harms me, I feel so dear. That practice comes from seeing his kindness in my enemy. It's very difficult. Try that. You practice, and then you have your own enemy, and then every time you don't need to tell everybody, but you just remind yourself, he is being very kind. No, one of your mind will always will be against towards you. So that's why it is a very important saying, not from him, say that is a very important, say practice with him.
Yeah.
That is a very, that do teacher shazanga ta dorduna tenda dikadul ta so khar kombashi worslana ane dinjigi ngala shebe dibu ane chungju chimbu shebe dibu chungju chimbu dubate nyege chabare khog yang ngale yen chabare sechi ni nyam도 중보 인장 안에 코란리아 안에 지게 다델이야 안에 셔버치비기 안에 아주마 손에 다 크레딧 서버
give them credit. Yeah.
크레딧 콜 파트도 제제 제고의 좀전 가르스는 디나로라 대달된 쉐비 규세티 되게 디나로라 레바나를 가르였으나 쉐비기 규 동댕이 수치 송요 톰덴 세디기 딱 고주마 부유지 되네 톰덴을 세주잖아요. 규 디마도 매빈자 그 톰덴 잡다. 쉐버지 규 하냐지 인자. 디제라 규 디모 매나 미중비기 빼나.
Yeah.
디제발라 쉐버스니디 인지미지 달든 기억마를 저걸든 기글 슬라비나 그 톰덴 책마. 가전선은 그 옵셔널 줘 봐.
맞아요.
다딘디 단다데 딘디 제멘두스 가르전즈는 야버도 아니 서버 야보주하나 다디 고구도 저기 틴삼신고도 세디 오다디 서버 규비 규톰데 임바디 하고치 세지 다디 다디 제디기 라비스 저거도 디인 거 있어요.
And so also if I sort of summarize and as to how we should think about this verse 108 and the main advice that's contained within it, we have to, the practice of when it talks about in line, it's in line 3 in the English, the very first fruits of my patience. So through the practice of patience, the result or the fruit of that is great enlightenment. And we will think that, and that's, that would be attained on the basis of me practicing patience. But we also, we have to give credit to the enemy for helping us along in that process, that they acted as a condition for that practice of patience. So we kind of did it together, and you have to give them credit for that. So that's what it's being indicated by, they're worthy of being given the very first fruits. So therefore we should give them first fruits of my patience. And in the fourth line, it says, for in this way, they are a cause of it. And so in Gyaltsab Je's commentary, it says that so for in this way, it says, for in this way that the enemy is a powerful, let's call it a powerful cause for me, a powerful cause of patience, which helps me in attaining the fully enlightened state. And and so there's this, again, the causal relationship between, without them, the way I want to explain, in the Tibetan it says tobden, du tobden, which is more like a powerful cause. But actually the way I want to explain it is that it's only them. It has to be the enemy. It can't be anyone else. We can't get that. We can't get that opportunity from a friend. If it was optional, so that we didn't require them, then we wouldn't call them tobden. We wouldn't call them a kind of powerful or very special or powerful cause for our practice of patience, which leads to enlightenment. And so this again identifies the relationship of where, if one thing doesn't priorly exist, then its later result can never arise. And so we need the enemy, and we need to, so they're they're a non-optional cause. It's only them, and therefore they are this kind of powerful or special cause. And so this is the main advice that we need to know based on verse 108.
유돔대인바디 아니 아주 칸에 라반나 셈나로라 영화도 제토베이나 아니 람상 저기 서버 검토 말에데 이나인 딜레야 서버집이 유돔대인바디 더우당 아니 더블 때니 중백이 셈데서 아니 정말 주게 다 저기 산지류 고방 토발라 아니 심진의 퇴행체바다 산지류 고방 토발라 유조 임바 유돔된 임바지 삼바야 오지 코토바이나 이지로 주에나 텔레텐지 만조지 롱dom지 람바이나야 서버 고마토바 중바다 아니 셈나로래야 다른 고급 상부 시부지 쇼르송 세치
나서 콘드람비이나 어제
이나마 서버 고마토베 중바이나 안셈딘 로래야 다지 랑신기 다른 고급 상부 시부지 쇼르송 다른 예 고급이 낸토바 송스 아니 겨버지지 딜레서바
so
어디 가리스 중벌스나 다시네 고 매너민중기 아니 대화들라 아니 세부치지 고 이질레 토비 충분히나 어떻게 용해야 지르샤.
And so if we are able to sort of really understand this and really clearly have a kind of trusting faith, a real clear kind of clear-cut trusting faith in how this relationship with kind of without the existence of them, then the result practice of patience doesn't arise. But not just that we the practice of patience, we can't. So if we can think a little bit, like get this kind of little bit feeling or experience for this, not completely, but just kind of a kind of little sense of it, then that even if it's not the full practice of patience, that we have a kind of similar way of thinking, that the practice of patience which arises on the basis of the enemy, and the enemy is actually the main cause, or this powerful or main cause, in order for us to attain the completely enlightened state, which then has the ability to work for the welfare of all sentient beings. And so if we can just have it's not the complete practice of patience, but if we can get some experience in this way of thinking, then, and a kind of trust in that relationship also, between between cause and effect, the kind of determined kind of cause and effect, then in situations where we get irritable or angry, then it's possible for us to really feel naturally what will arise is this feeling that when we do lose our tempers or retaliate, then we've really lost an opportunity for this kind of practice, and that real sense of how we didn't take the opportunity. And so as we build up this kind of clear trust in these kind of relationship and how they are really like a big powerful cause for us to attain enlightenment, then we really have that sense, if we do lose our cool, that we've lost an opportunity.
Now the most important, many confusion in this practice, sometimes it's common. It's sometimes also I feel that too. When somebody is harming you, then when we say bring the patience on, it doesn't mean that we don't deal with penalty. Never do it. Ane chigi tele ya nyolen ma che labdu zambe ane chigi soba kom ane nyolen ma che labdu zambe di keke len ma ja ko gi chigi shugu yu ne ane kom che de di ke zaw ni ma res.
Yeah.
Quran ya ka go na ka zing go ne zing kar che go ne che yina ya su gi sem mo chu che che. Su gi sem mo chu. Ko gi ne ba che ba de ya ane 카 매바다 아니 가르서 오래 네 개버텔이야 네 지금 코 다지거를 삼삼하고 싶다야요 곧 로트베 온게 또 지금 여바다 아니 지금 니주 야고마 신베기 지금 여바다 아니 개왕아 메기 지금 unfinished business 아니 거루를 여바다 지금 망고 삼다야요 알아 그래서 당초 이나양 코로나님도 내년 가르치고 오요네 제국이요. 다디 딜리안 렌 잡스도 좀be 지금 콘트롤 돈이 제고예요. 그렇죠?
그렇죠.
그런 지금 양 두자들 제변에 팀을 또군에 또 줘요. 그렇죠?
예.
아니 거의 네가 가르다네 땅 줘요. 있나야 디기 셈나로라 나심 세죠 봐. 나심데 그러고. 딜이야 뇌내 제베 qabl 아니 콜 직내 기주라나 가와고만 손으로 다 디자원이 지 좋고요 말이에요.
Yeah. And so, in a situation where someone is harming us in some kind of way, and here when we talk about it's not that we just talk about not responding at all, not answering back or responding, or just kind of bowing our heads and letting the situation just come on to us and let them do what they like, kind of thing. That's not really how we're talking. It may be that we have to sort of try to stop them doing something which is harm, trying to stop the harm, or respond in the, there may be a way that we have to in terms of sort of like the rules and regulations of a country or whatever it is. It may be that there is some punishment that needs to be applied to the person for the harm or the harmful things that they have done. So it's not necessarily that it doesn't necessarily mean there may be some form of response. But what is extremely important is that if we do respond in some way to them in order to prevent them, for instance, or to counteract what they're doing, that our minds are not disturbed, that they are not, so that we, through thinking through how this is a kind of situation, this is situational event that has arisen that you could, there can be thinking like, there's unfinished business between us, or, past lives kind of interaction and unfinished business. There's all these ways which can help us to make sure that if we do have to respond, that the answer never comes out of a sense of anger, and that there's no harm if we do that. If the situation calls for us to respond in some way, that we make sure that it never is born out of harmful intent towards them.
Okay, thank you very much. So we stop here today and let's do a dedication.
Okay, I'll just get the dedication prayers. Having thoroughly investigated in accord with all that I've heard, day and night through the four reasonings, mind born of reflection on these topics of contemplation, may this discernment sever all doubts. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chinrezi Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the gone beyond victorious ones of the 3 times in order to have good conduct. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche.